Okay, I think we can go to the next sector. That is also an interesting one, since it was also lately in the focus of a lot of discussions, the energy sector. So Pietro, let us know what are the key issues here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, thanks to this fantastic Congress, really interesting. You know, the energy sector is a peculiar one. We have heard about facing very complex rules. Now, in the energy sector, since years, we are facing to a very complex business activities. You have strange people, you know, which, for instance, take off the jacket during a formal congress. In the middle, between financial activities, so I really focus on what Francesca said, and real rude business activities. So on the one side, they are like handymen working with pipelines, with power plants, with physical elements, bringing commodities from one point to another point of the grid. Finally, and basically to allow consumers to use gas and electricity. Well, I'm focused more on power and gas in the energy sector, bringing this commodity for the use of final consumers. On the other side, you have people, which I call people with 2 heads and 6 screens, trading, working on this commodity, buying and selling these commodities several times, and in some cases, not moving the commodity, but just working with financial instruments, contract for difference. You know, when I discuss with business people, for example, about VAT, one fundamental thing is to identify if the contract is a physical or a financial one. When I raise the question, I can find two answers. The first one, quite smart, tell me which one you want to be, and that's it. Thank you, it doesn't work. The second one, which is the real one of business people, I don't care. I have a price on the screen, I click, full stop. I don't take care if it is physical or financial. I just take care about the profit that I can realize for this click. And you know, it's really complex sometimes to explain to the tax authorities how the business works. When we speak about PE, going to our point, normally, you know, I try to think about, I have in mind only 2 cases where a PE exists, where the group decided to declare a PE. One is an Italian one. We have a big energy company in Italy performing all the trading activity through a PE in UK. The second one is related to international pipelines, and then we are going to see the different businesses. International pipelines, please allow me not to say the name, but it's quite new, so we know about, that decided to set up the main company, the owner of the pipeline in Zug, in Switzerland, and setting up different PEs in 3 states where the pipeline passed through. The aim is quite easy, to avoid taxation of the international part of the pipeline. When we speak about PE present, which is, you know, I said that we have lots of PE in the energy market, but we have lots of issues on the PE presence. So we really discuss a lot if in some cases, some activities can bring to the presence of a PE. I divided the activity of the energy sector in 4. Let me say, you know, one is the business development. It's quite easy. You have people, you can find business development basically in this period in production from renewable energies. So in Italy, you have lots of people from abroad looking for lands. We're setting up solar plants or wind plants, you know, and it's quite easy. They ask, can I come to Italy? Can I negotiate or whatever? You know, that's the physical or the agency PE basis. No way, no issue. Then you have the international pipelines or grids we already discussed, which is the case. And then you have some new cases or new concept. The one you can have in Italy, you know, I spent a couple of hours 1 week ago discussing in the field of the reform of the tax system with custom authorities. We have, not we can have, we have foreign traders, foreign wholesalers selling commodities to final clients. That's a reality, full stop. They don't have a P in Italy. They are not declaring a P in Italy. Secondly, trading. Trading is really an important case. We are even more in situation where multinationals are concentrating the trading floor in just one country. In some cases, they already arrived to do it. In other cases, they are planning, they are thinking about concentrate everything in one country. And it brings, and we have an advanced tax agreement in place with the Italian tax authorities on this. And in these cases, the rule that Mario Tenore mentioned comes to our mind. With the new rule, the big question is, but a trading activity can generate a permanent establishment, well, in our case in Italy, while trading is performed abroad in another country. So we have a significant and continuous economic presence. And then we go to the second part. We start with this question, why? Because, you know, trading, when you work with financial trading, you don't need the physical thing, let me say, for performing your activity. Where you're trading with commodities, commodities move around grids and pipelines. Commodities needs to be supplied from one party to another one. So you need a physical point where you have the physical supply of the commodity. In Italy, we have different physical points, and we have also 2 virtual points, which are in the middle of the grid if you look at the regulation, where all the traders supply the goods, because commodities are goods. So the fact that they are using an important structure in Italy can bring to a significant, and they are trading Italian products, because the point are the products. So they are buying and selling commodity which are negotiated in Italy through Italian market and supplied in Italy. It gives a significant, a continuous economy presence in Italy. We don't know. We are discussing with the Italian tax authorities, but that's a question. The second part of the rule, well, I'm not going to discuss if we are a new hypothesis of PE or an anti-abuse rule, because Mario was really clear, so he really explained the point. Thanks, Mario, so I have more time for saying something else. The second point, I think, is the really key one, because set presence has been arranged in such a way that it does not give rise to a physical presence in Italy, which is the normal way of trading commodities, which gives rise to a physical presence in Italy. That's the main question that we are raising with the Italian tax authorities. And one of the point, they have not yet realized it, but one of the point is, before, when the trading activity started abroad, it started from ground zero, or before we had a trading floor in Italy and then this trading floor has been closed, transferring the trading activity abroad. It could be also a key element to take into consideration. We don't have so far the reply, but it's really interesting to analyze. And I do agree with Mario, which we are not in the digital economy. We discuss a lot with the digital tax if the energy market is in or not in the digital economy. Well, at the end, the idea of the market is not, we are not in the digital economy. But it is a rule that can go, let me use not the wording of us, tax consultants, but the wording of energy sector, which goes on top of the digital economy. We will discuss a lot about this, and we will see the different interpretation that we will have in this sector. The last slide and the last minute that I'm going to take, well, identification of a PE. Really difficult to have PE, as I said, in the energy market, but that's the point. Profit allocation. And that's always a big discussion between who has the brain and who has the money. In the energy sector, you need lots of money because you need to build up power plants. You need to give guarantees, lots of guarantees, not only to your counterparties, but also to the grid. Every time that you move something, you move an atom of commodity, you need guarantee said atom of commodity to several parties. The other way around, traders say, yeah, well, guys, but you have a piece of iron somewhere. I'm the one making the money. I'm the one making the iron going on and finding the right solution to allocate or trading in the best way for making profits. That's a long discussion. In the business side, the point is that to identify, in our view, which are the strategy key decision makers, which is a fantastic word. We like the OECD. What does it mean? What does it mean in the energy sector? Because if you speak with the one from the production side, they are the leader, they have the plant, they are the really key decision makers. If you speak with the traders, the other way around, they are the one. A point, but I'm going behind my time, so just to give you a flavor, you know, you have seen, we have a windfall tax flowing all around Europe. The point that so far no one raised, well, one raised in an article of a couple of months ago, is which is the profit allocation key function of this windfall tax. How tax authorities shall manage the TP of the windfall tax among a multinational group working in the energy sector. Thanks.
A lot of interesting points also in this industry. When I started studying permanent establishment, I've heard a joke that in India, everything that goes in the country, but also everything that flies over the country, creates a permanent establishment. And indeed, India is the other country, together with Italy, that has invented or has developed this significant economic presence in their legislation. Are we going the same direction in Italy? Let's see. But I'm interested to know questions from the audience. We still have 4 minutes. Andre here has already a question. And of course, Svetislav, you are the co-chair, so you have the precedence here.
Can you please go back to the provision, to this fantastic provision? I'm really amazed by this. I'm sorry, and it's not. I'm not making a question on the energy sector. I'm going rather more general. But my question here, when I say this provision, is this thought for a case in which you were doing something physically, and then you realized that you could do that the same without a physical premise, and then you started doing that without physical premises? Or is this thought for those cases in which you are doing things atypically because the tax authorities thought that you should do that physically, but you are not? So you should have a PE. And last question, what does this have to do with avoidance? Because I can see that. And beyond, what does this have to do with the PE, which traditionally was thought to say, do you have enough threshold here or you haven't? Because I see here situations that are totally comparable, but they are treated in a totally asymmetrical way. So, I mean, I know for sure you are complaining about this provision, but you know, these are genuine questions. I'm totally, I said, amazed by this. Thank you.
I would, before going into the answers, get the other question here, Svetislav, and then Vikram, and anyone else who wants to.
Mine is maybe not especially energy specific, but I have energy in mind. But also something that Federica said is that where, if I remember her presentation, she said, if I'm correctly paraphrasing, that sometimes regulatory requirements will impact your permanent establishment position. So what when I was listening to Pietro, and when I read this provision, when it comes to the grid and, for example, the electricity market, what about getting a license to be a part of the market? Because as you said, there's a lot of financing, there's a lot of guarantees there, so not everybody can be a trader on the market. There needs to be some sort of regulation. Usually that used to be issued to local subsidiaries, but now, especially within the EU, can issue the license to a non-resident entity. Now, instead of the grid analysis, are you using the grid and is that significant economic presence? If you're issued a license, doesn't that then fit into the significant and continuous economic presence, because you just said that you will be there on the market using the infrastructure of the market? And on the other hand, of course, I get your point that has it been arranged on purpose in such a way, or is this the normal way of doing things? But in my at least experience, once you get to a stamp and seal on a license, that usually drives the authorities into the direction that the presence is there. So just looking at that, maybe. Thank you.
I think Vikram was first, and then Paolo.
Just a question more from a practical standpoint, from a profit allocation standpoint, because you spoke about pipelines and you spoke about windmills. Now, these kind of projects, once they are up and ready, they don't really require people on the ground for day-to-day functioning as such. So how does this reconcile with this authorized OECD approach, which basically allocates profits to a P based on functions, significant people functions? Because I understand in these kind of situations, yes, a non-resident may have a P because of a pipeline in a country or a windmill in a country, but then how do you go about allocating profits to this particular P, because you may have negligible people functions there? So how does this, what are the practical side of things that you see in the energy sector in this area? Thank you.
And Paolo, I think we...
Mine is a brief point on what Andres just said. I mean, to put this provision in its general content of Italian tax law, also internationally, it's clearly a provision that is written in a way that you might interpret it in different way according to your needs or the needs of somebody. And second, it's not that because we target somehow a rule as an anti-avoidance rule per se, so it's not the name that we give to it that makes it compatible in all cases with tax conventions. I mean, it depends the way in which you construe it as a matter of practice and you apply it to the specific case, because this is not a rule that might somehow include an anti-avoidance purpose in all cases where it is applied. If it is so, I think it's difficult to reconcile with also the OECD idea of anti-avoidance rules in tax treaties.
Okay, so we are 4 minutes late,
No,
and Federica has also a question.
I just wanted to follow up on what Vikram just said, sorry for the misspelling, because actually, even if we say that in your example, the trading of commodities could bring to significant and continuous economic presence, what would you allocate to that P? I think it's on the same, yeah, thanks.
You can
Thank
make
you.
it in 1 minute,
that
would be great.
Yeah, just before replying, I would like to know the plans of the for the weekend of all of you. I think we will. No, just quickly reply, and then first question. Bismarck was used to say that laws are like sausages. You like them until you know how they are made. We have no explanation note of this rule. Normally in Italy, but everywhere, when they prepare a draft bill, you have an explanation note. In such a case, we have no explanation note. We have no circular letter or whatever from the Italian tax authorities. So it's really difficult to know the intention of the legislator in writing this rule. To be honest, I'm really in the middle. I don't know which is the best interpretation. I heard Pasquale to be more on the anti-abuse rule side. That's something really good and important. Now it's more sophisticated for me, the distinction and the analysis, which pass through why we pay taxes, why a state is allowed to levy taxes on something, on economic activity. I'm going behind my minutes, but I think that the reply is really in this question. We had a really interesting congress in Cape Town in May on digital tax. And when we pass through this discussion, maybe we can, exchange some thoughts, but sorry I don't want to take too much time. Licenses. Trading activity in Europe, also wholesale activity in Europe is free. You don't need license. So I can start buying power and gas on the Italian pool without asking any authorization. You need a license for owning the grids and the pipelines for moving, because you have a separation of duties. If you own the pipelines, you cannot own the gas passing through the pipelines. Profit allocation, also it will take lots of time. Let's take the case, for example, you mentioned of pipelines where you don't have people, you have an international pipeline. You calculate the allocation of profits according to, normally pipelines are regulated activities and they received a minimum profits through a WACC analysis. So that's the key element to calculate the attribution of profits. But I do agree with you, and I do agree with, I think it was Philip Baker, we are in a phase where we don't have really clear possible rules on profit allocation in the energy market. So we need really to think different. We have some APAs open with the Italian tax authorities. Now we are closing a couple filed in 2017. We are going on a TNM, full stop.